coming to the vBrownBag. We're at vBrownBag.com and youtube.com/vBrownBag. We are your weekly tech show where we talk with IT professionals, industry experts, and cool folks from around the world. Tonight, we're going to talk with Shala Warner, one of our own, and she is going to talk to us about standing up environments freaky fast with Terraform. I am one of the hosts tonight. My name is Damian Carlson. I'm a tall guy who likes technology and nerdy things. Shala?
Hey everybody, I'm Shala. Many of you may know me as Gifted Lane across the social webs. I am a cloud solutions architect slash DevOps engineer, and I like coming on here and helping out hosting with vBrownBag because I get to learn from people smarter than me. And tonight I'm in the hot seat, y'all. But yeah, I'm gonna show you. I'll walk you through my little repo, why I built it, and why it makes me happy. I find it interesting.
So before we do that, let me go to this next slide because corporate wants us to. I'm just going to pretend run by a corporation. So join the community. You can join us at vBrownBag on Twitter. We're at vBrownBag on YouTube. My Twitter handle is at 6footdad on Twitter. I also have a Mastodon one that I barely use. Anyways, join us. We are by the IT community for the IT community.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm just going to jump into it. So, fun fact, I absolutely love GitLab. I got forced to learn it as a DevOps engineer, and I haven't turned back yet. I still use GitHub, but mostly I use GitHub a lot when I want to share stuff with the community. But when I'm like putting in work, I find myself using GitLab because I do a lot with pipelines, and it just, I don't know, it just speaks to my soul. It works for me. So on that note, as a DevOps engineer, you all may have heard me say this before. I never once had any inkling, interest, idea whatsoever to ever work as a DevOps engineer. It just ended up happening through the job where I work. I found myself as a DevOps engineer, so I had to learn it, while working on a project, as well as still getting used to working with cloud because cloud was also still new to me and learning AWS. And so, what would hapen?
I've
The
got a quick question
clients,
for you when you
yes,
finish
go
this.
for it.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah. When you say you had no inclination to be a DevOps engineer, does that mean that you were actively avoiding it, or it was not a path that you had intentionally chose?
Good question. I was not avoiding it. I just didn't think to do it.
Makes
But
sense.
part of me is also like maybe at times I was avoiding it. I do remember taking was it Cisco? Yes, it was Cisco, the DevNet exam when they first released it.
Yeah.
Y'all, that exam was difficult. I didn't understand it. I was so lost. And I was just like, I'm not a DevOps engineer. So maybe I was avoiding it to some degree because that exam told me, nope, this is not what you are.
So, for the
So
sake of folks in the audience who may not be familiar, give us your definition of a DevOps engineer, Shala.
yes, I'm pausing because I remember a time when someone said the word DevOps or DevOps engineer, and people would try to explain it to me, and it would make zero sense. And the first thing, one person I remember who said something, and they were like, first off, DevOps is a culture, which made it even more confusing to me.
Right.
But being tossed into the DevOps engineer role, now it makes sense to me because I do it every day. So the best way I like to explain it, as a DevOps engineer, my job is to make the developers' life easier. And what I do is I serve as or work as the bridge between cloud operations and the developers. So, me personally, I know a ton about AWS and using cloud. The developers, not so much, but they know a ton about developing and the software life cycle and all that kind of stuff. I know a little bit about that. So, between the two of us, we both know all the things together. But the big thing is now that if you've ever seen that infinite feedback loop for the DevOps diagram, let me see if I can pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah, the kind of the virtuous uh, cycle, I think, where
Yes, like,
it's always improving and getting better.
yeah, so let's try this one, see if I can get to it. What is DevOps? So this, where you have like this continuous feedback loop is what I like to call it. And it's exactly that. The biggest part of my day is me teaching what I know about cloud and how it runs to the developers, and the developers teaching me what they know about developing software and applications and coding. And we share, constantly teach each other, and we're both learning. And the biggest thing I had to learn was, as a DevOps engineer, my job isn't to be able to do all the things, which is what originally I was trying to do. It's being able to teach my devs what I know so that they can go do all the things and I can make their lives easier. And the less they have to call me to do something, I'm doing a good job.
Gotcha. So it sounds like there's a big part of kind of shared responsibility for making sure that everyone uh, supports the outcome, right? Rather than
Mhm.
just saying, "Oh, that's someone else's problem."
That part. That
Yeah,
part.
yeah,
It's so much a part of teamwork. And so now I understand what they mean, when someone first told me that DevOps is a culture, because before you even get to like the actual doing of the things, there's a mindset, and the whole organization has to be a part of that mindset for it to work. So you have to have developers who are willing to do working sessions. Like, I used to do SQL when I was in college because it was part of the regimen,
right.
but I haven't done SQL in years. Now I can like do so much SQL because I do working sessions with the developers. I know how to exit out of Vim because of working
Oh,
with developers. So it's a real beautiful thing.
yeah, awesome. You know, when I first learned about DevOps, it was from the book "The Phoenix Project," which was a really great book. Um, that was written a number of years ago by a handful of authors. One of them was Gene Kim, and I forget everyone else that was involved. Anyways, it's a book about kind of the worst possible workplace where everything is going wrong and no one takes responsibility outside of their own silo and everything is terrible. And, through kind of understanding the DevOps culture and basically being adults and not being jerks, they were able to save the day and everything was glorious. I'm being a little bit facetious, but I mean, really, being an adult and not being a jerk is a big part of DevOps. So,
It is.
yeah. So you were saying before we kind of tangented a little bit on the definition of DevOps, you were talking about a time in your past.
Yes. So what I was getting into is, being a new DevOps engineer, I found myself, and like I said, also I was still fairly new to cloud. So there's just a lot of things I did not know how to do. A large part of my job is the client asks for some cool thing for their app to do. And depending on what it is, if it's cloud, oftentimes, it comes to me, and, project manager and the developers are like, hey, we want to do, X thing. And I go, sure, let me go figure out how to build it. And I have to do that a lot.
Yeah,
And what I notice, for anyone who's new, like whatever your field is, it could be tech or anything else. Um, but I'll keep it with tech because that's what I do. But what I noticed was, I don't care for the people who have been working in cloud for 20 years. They're always figuring out how to do the thing that the client is asking for. So that's the job, is constantly learning stuff.
yeah,
So me personally, I am a scaredy cat. If anyone's watched my video, when I first worked as a network engineer, I managed to take down a building that had 44 floors of people, and also the downtown area, like businesses and that too. Like I just took down like a lot of people's internet. That taught me to be cautious and to be a bit of a scaredy cat. So when I get a request to say, hey, can you build this thing that I've never built before? I like to do that far away from production. So far away from production because I don't want to be the person who took down production. And, the client's losing money. Like, I don't want to do that. So,
Yeah.
I notice every day I'm needing to figure out how to do something at AWS, and I needed a way to quickly stand up AWS resources quickly so I can get in, test the thing, tear it down, and move on.
Right.
And I decided to create a repo to do that using Terraform. And I realized I kept procrastinating to set this up. And so I had to make it a little bit fun for myself and gamify it. Anyone who knows me, I love Zelda. So I decided to give it a Zelda theme. So it is Hyrule Terra Stacks. And I have like different little, Zelda things in here. Like you'll see, you know, the VPC is called Hyrule, the ECS thing is called something else. So I put some of that in there to make it fun for myself. Couple things. What I like to do is use Gitpod. I these days I rarely ever actually like work locally. So using Gitpod is nice because I learned how to build a custom Docker image and host it. And that way I have Terraform already installed, AWS CLI already installed, ready to go whenever I spin up one of these things. And it's not on my local machine, so I don't have to worry about using up space or anything like that. It's just a cloud IDE. And I love it. I don't even know how to work locally anymore. Well, I do because I have to for work, but but personally, for my personal stuff, like I'm in Gitpod. I'm just like, here, take all my money. Just take my money. It's been so great. So let me walk through this. And this was literally something I had to do this week. Definitely feel free to ask any questions. Feel free to, interrupt me with questions in the chat, and that's fine. So, literally, what happened just this week was I needed to redo. First off, I figured out how to use Terraform to create CloudWatch alerts, which is great because now the developers they love to code. They know how to code. Instead of going through the AWS console to do it, which is not great. It's just not great. They are able to just go in here and code it up, run it through Terraform and create it. And we don't have to worry about like creating, AWS permissions and things like that. I love the cloud IDEs. It's a game changer. It's like Rian. I hope I'm saying that right. It's such a game changer for me. There's times where on the fly something comes through and I am using a cloud IDE. I'm using Gitpod on my phone, y'all, on my phone, and I can like just quickly bang out the things while I'm out and about. It's great. So let's say, for example, I get a request where just like, oh, you know what? Can you like make the code better for CloudWatch? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So what I did was go over here to my modules, and I'm kind of going through this as if, people are well versed in Terraform, so bear with me. But I have these custom modules that I created. So like this one here, which is the cloud registry module. What I'm going to do is uncomment that. And what happened is right now for this cloud module, if I go to CloudWatch, also let me know if I'm going too fast, anything like that. That's completely fine. Let's see if I go to all alarms. I have no alarms, right? So to sit here and test something that I need to do, I was like, okay, fine, let me go create a new CloudWatch alarm real quick. All I have to do is just uncomment this. Let me bring back up my terminal. And I'm gonna do Terraform apply because my code is awesome. I don't need to check it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
We'll do it live.
Sir, we'll just do it live. Like it's okay. And watch an error happen. It'll be just my luck. Okay, so let me apply this. Yes. And okay, of course, real world, especially production, like I've used this repo so many times, so that's why I'm like, I don't care. I know what it's doing. But real world, oh, I am combing through this thing, y'all. Like I'm like this, line by line. Like, what are you doing? What are
Yeah.
you doing? Like, what are you gonna potentially mess up or delete? First thing I look for is like any red markings. Like, okay, what are you deleting? But it's fine. For this one, it's okay. All right, great. So now let me clear this. Go over here. Ta-da! I have an alarm. Just that fast. My code is also famous last words. Like seriously,
Yeah. Yeah.
little go for it. And Damien can attest and laugh at me because literally just seconds before I had broke something and
Yep.
Terraform was throwing up errors and I had to go fix it.
Yeah, but I wasn't gonna throw you under the bus on that one. I was just gonna
Oh yeah, I that's
that
the thing. So anyone who watches my streams, like I throw myself under the bus all the time. I'm all about showing like the good, the bad, and the ugly. Like it happens. It gets messy.
yeah. Yeah.
But see, now I have my alarm. It's ready to go. It's all nicely set up. See, look at that. Doing stuff. Ready to go. Bang.
So what did that do? I saw there was an SNS topic being mentioned there on one of the lines of Terraform. Could you give us a quick
Yes.
background of as to what it was actually doing on AWS?
Yes. Yep. So let me close this and open it up. So go to my modules, go to main TF. So let's see, metric. Trying to see. Okay, so I already have either in one of my other modules or because I just already have it created, there's already a SNS topic created.
Hmm.
But what I had to do was supply it. So I had to tell the alarm, okay, what SNS topic are you going to send your alarm to? And the reason why is because I needed to test out, like this says here, I wanted to find a way where I can save a CloudWatch query because this is another weird random request I got. Hey, is there any way that if we have a saved query in CloudWatch that we can get a summary of the errors that popped up, for the day before and have it sent to a Slack channel? I don't know. Like, let me go figure out if I can do that. And I can. I made it work. And I was able to use my nice little repo here to quickly stand up some CloudWatch alarms and send it to a SNS topic. And you know what my favorite part is? Let me go back here. Let me go to log groups. So this log group got created, and this one also got created during one of the modules. If I go here, see how there's no log streams? There's just no log streams.
Hmm.
I needed to create some fake logs to see if I could actually properly send a report to an email. Once I got that working, then I was like, okay, great. Let me reformat it to look pretty and then send it to a Slack channel. But how do I get the fake logs in here? And I'm like, I need to automate that some kind of way. So what I did was I created a nice little .sh here
Hmm.
that's going to create the things for me like this. And what it does is I have some randomization going on so that it'll create a bunch of different types of 500 errors just
Yeah.
at random. And so, matter of fact, I can run this. So if I put this here, as you see here, there's no log streams, just no logs. I'll go here, hit enter. It is gonna take a bit because I told it to create like 120 logs.
Yeah. So the point is that you're able to use Terraform to implement a repeatable process that allows you to do a proof of concept away from production and not flood production CloudWatch or production Slack with a bunch of errors. Yeah,
Or break it, like
or
all
break
those
it.
things. Just saying, just saying. Because me personally, I learn best by break fix. So I break the thing and then fix it, and that's how I learn. So I create home labs, safe environments for myself for this reason. But
Yeah,
now, as you can see here, I got 501s, 507s, 504s, blah, blah, blah. Like all this stuff is here. And so now I can go and test whatever thing I was trying to, figure out how to do for the client, which is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Let's see, is it
So
done?
taking
I
that a
can
step
stop.
further, and while you're looking at that, I'm just going to riff for a quick second. Taking the idea a step further, by being able to do this in code, right? Like in plain text, we can actually store this in a repository and form the foundation for what we call infrastructure as code, to where we have
Mm-hmm.
something in a repo that's repeatable, it's trackable, you can see who's made changes to it. And as your test environment or your test cases or whatever they may be mature over time, you can track that configuration through code, and it really makes the idea of having a repeatable environment that is always the same way every time. It
Mm-hmm.
makes that a reality. So it's pretty
Yep.
fantastic.
Yep. And then for me, coming in and taking the time on my off hours, playing around with this stuff. Because for me, it's playing, and I say playing because I have so much fun doing this. Like it's actually meditative for me. Like it's just fun for me to do, and so I get to go back to work and look awesome and like a hero because for me, they were just like, we never would have thought that you could sit there and use Terraform to create CloudWatch alarms. And what they really liked about that was one, it empowered the developers to go create CloudWatch. Because if I show y'all how you do it through the UI of the AWS console, it's so many hoops you have to jump through. But this is straightforward. I'm able to create templates for them so they can copy and paste, do what they need to do, and not be blocked. But more importantly, what they really like now our alarms are backed up. Because let's say something happens, and the AWS account gets compromised, stuff gets deleted, it's backed up, and you can quickly spin it up. Or if we need to create a new environment, you can quickly spin it up. And you also what I really like about it, it lets us enforce certain things like tagging. So I actually have somewhere in one of these modules where default tagging occurs because people are bad about tagging resources, as well as little things that make me happy. Like, tell me what this alarm does.
Right,
What's it doing?
right,
Because a year from now, a month from now, I don't know what that thing was set up to do.
right.
So little things like that make me happy.
Yep, yep, yeah, yeah. Documenting things is taking care of your future self, right? Like that's
Mhm.
just a little love letter to future you. Like, hey, you're gonna forget about this, but I thought ahead and I wrote it down. So
Bingo. And other things I like to do in that same realm, I like how I have this big old red thing, and that was me testing something. We'll get to that one. This one was something fun I did like last Friday that I was proud of myself about because I thought it was cool. But in that same vein of documentation, let me see, do I have something here? I think I do. Yes. So what I like to do as I'm, creating different things, stuff like that, I like to create readmes and I'll literally talk about like here, I decided to test out creating CloudWatch alarms via Terraform, because yeah, whatever. And I've told AWS about this. I've griped about it. But I like to, create readmes for myself where it's just like, okay, lesson one, like what did I learn? It's easier to write the metric pattern in TF versus trying to do it in the console using the metric filter syntax in there. And then I also have a link to documentation. So that way it's like, I can quickly go to things. Let me see. And I think I have another one too. Um, is it this one? Let me see. Yeah, so and I'll have like table of contents. So lessons learned again. Let's see. It takes a truly long time, typo. But one thing I ran into, I had a TF or a Terraform state lock issue. So I went ahead and just put this handy little code here. Whenever I run into it, I just come here, copy and paste that, and fix my Terraform block issue without having to remember, oh, what's the code for it. So I love creating these kind of little readmes for stuff like this because, like a week from now, sometimes I don't remember what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I can quickly share it with other people. So I like that.
Yeah, I've got a repo where I just have little code snippets, whether it's PowerShell
Hmm.
or what have you, with just, this is the PowerShell that kills explorer.exe, right? Like
Yeah,
if I need to refresh Explorer on a Windows machine. So just simple stuff, right? It's always handy
exactly.
to have around.
Exactly. So that's that. Let's see what else. Something else that I also liked doing was, oh, this one was a silly error. So something I did, if I go here, let me go to the CI. I love creating pipelines in GitLab. And so something that I needed to know how to do was, okay, I wanted to empower the developers when they do their releases, an easy way where they can, restart ECS clusters or ECS service using the latest revision, task revision, and also clear the Cloudflare cache for the whole thing, as well as do an invalidation for CloudFront. And so I created a pipeline to do that where all they have to do is just run the pipeline and it does the things for them. The
That's
moment
pretty
I
cool.
built, yeah, I thought it was cool. I thought it was slick. The moment I decided, okay, cool, I'm gonna, show them how to do this during a release, it felt. I got a big old text of red text with something failing. And what it was is my code that I used in here. Where is it? I think it's, oh, you can see where I commented it out. But this little piece of code here, what happened was I did not account for our task definitions being in the 3 digits. So, like say like 589 like is the revision number. And so this original line here broke. So I had to get a little fancy and, fix it with this line here. Now, again, just like with those logs, like if I go to ECS, let's go to my cluster, close this for more real estate, and let's go. Oh, you know what? We need to go to task definition. Well, let me go back. So if you've worked with ECS before, what it does, and this is gonna fail because I don't have that part working because I didn't care about that. I just had it working for what I needed to test. It's gonna use these revision numbers here. And if I go here, what I had was like at one point the highest number revision I had was 12. And I needed it to get to these 3 digit numbers so I can test that the little code change I did here worked. And I'm
Right.
like, well, how can I quickly bump this up to 100? So I got to have some more fun and I created, do I have it here? I do. Another .sh where it comes here and uses this JSON that I created to sit there and update the things. And if I go back here, it's going to do it 112 times. And so by running that, that is how I was able, let me see. Let me see if I can run it. It might break it, but that's okay. There it goes. And so like 125, bang, 126, and it'll do it up to like 112 times. And so that's how I was able to quickly in the sense of I didn't have to keep hitting a button. I
Yeah.
was able to get this to run up to a 3-digit number. And then I was able to retest this pipeline and it worked. And for fun, because I live dangerously, clear my screen. Let's see if it works. So what I'll do is I'm going to I'm just gonna update this file. Like we're just gonna be so risky right now.
You're risk averse if you're feeling risky in test, right? Like,
Right. So I'm gonna comment out the one that doesn't work and then, uncomment the fix that I did. And we're gonna go ahead and just commit straight to the main branch. Who cares? It's fine. Okay, great. And let's see. Up, off to the races. And it'll take it a minute, but like I'm able to come in here and just quickly test and break things. And so that's what I love so much about having this repo set up. Because any given day when they're just like, oh, can you like do this thing? And I'm like, shoot, I don't know. Let me go see if I can. Let me go figure it out. And then once I figure it out, then, I take the code, clean it up, make it all nice and pretty, and then use it, for the client. So yeah.
so when we were talking about the topic for this show earlier this week, I was under the impression that we were talking about test infrastructure environments, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually I didn't know that you could use Terraform in this way to do proof of concept for changes like this. That actually opens up the use cases a lot more than what I thought it was for, which was just standing up infrastructure, right? Deploying ECS or storage or what have you. So that's very cool.
Yeah. And so this actually works now, y'all. I can tell y'all that because this is actually in production doing what it needs to do. I don't know why it's failing right now. Why are you failing?
The security token.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think I know what that is. That's fine. I needed to update it. That's inside of my CI CD settings for this repo because as you see here, I can open it up here. I'm using tokens. Can I see one? Like here, right? So I
Yeah,
have tokens and stuff like that. So that way things aren't hard coded, you
right.
know? And so yeah, I didn't update it. But that's why that's happening. But yeah, I just come in here, just do whatever I need to do. And that is one thing and a good point because a lot of times I'll say like test environments or whatever. And for me, yeah, it's proof of concept because that's what I'm forever doing. And I just need a way where I can quickly just go in and stand up these different services to go test the thing that I need to test. Like another cool thing was someone was like, oh, I have a Lambda. No, I have a Lambda and I need that Lambda to get triggered. I think it's this one. Yeah. that gets triggered when you dump something into an S3 bucket. And I was like,
Hmm.
okay, cool. I know how to do that through the UI, but how do I codify it, using Terraform? So, stood up my environment and got that working,
Very cool.
which, yeah, so
So you
stuff
just
like
did
that.
that directly through the bucket configuration where it just pings the Lambda.
hmm And
Yeah.
so it does it right here. And so look at the configurations, triggers. So yeah, if I dump something like some random file in this bucket, then
Hmm.
it's going to go run the Lambda. I'll be able to see it on the monitor
Yep.
where invocation happened.
Yep.
And there was something else I just thought about that was also pretty fun. There's a lot of stuff that I actually have going on in here. I plan on doing like short videos of it that kind of dive deeper into it. But yeah, but I think
Well,
that's
you should.
pretty much it. So yeah, so this was something fun for me. Something I'm glad that I finally sat down and took time to set up because it makes my work life easy because I can be so far away from production to go build the things that I need to build and not worry about taking down production.
Yeah. That's amazing. So thank you very much, Shala. I
Yeah.
learned something new tonight, so that's always a good thing. Learning
Nice.
something new is always worthwhile.